Hey, welcome back to Common Sense OT Security. Today we'll check out the Dragos 2025 OT Security Financial Risk Report. This report was reported on by the media, made the news, I think because of the or the key findings. Like OT cyber risk could exceed $300 billion. Global OT cyber risk could top 329 billion, over 300 billion in potential global cyber risk exposure. Industrial Cyber tells us Dragos report warns that global OT cyber risk could exceed 300 billion. Okay, that's all reason enough to check it out. So let's go to the report. Let's just dive right into it. I hope that you have all downloaded your copy and can follow along. Assessing OT security efficiency with independent insurance industry analysis by Marsh McLennan. So this all the numbers, etc., are based on a report by this insurance consultancy, I think it is. Table of contents, we don't need that. Executive summary. Study is a groundbreaking investigation. That's good. Applies statistical modeling. Okay. So what I miss here is the beef. Usually what you expect in an executive summary is the key findings. So for unknown reasons, they don't put it in here. They put it on the next slide, on the next page in this next chapter, key data points. So US dollars, roughly 300 billion is at risk for OT cybersecurity, and 172.4 billion is at risk when BI is involved in a cyber-physical event. That's a bit strange. So I would imagine that you have been taken off, just like myself, and reading this the first time and even the third and fourth time, because I don't know what BI is. I hypothesize that it's an acronym for business impact, but the funny thing is that they don't tell us. So they never clarify what that acronym means. They do tell us what the OT acronym means, but they never tell us what BI means. So I just go with the hypothesis that this is about business impact. And the difference between those two numbers is that the smaller number would only cover those events with a cyber physical scenario. So it's not just, well, you have to face downtime because your billing systems have been taken out by ransomware, as we have seen in the Colonial Pipeline scenario. This is about the real cyber physical stuff. And that number is a little bit smaller. So in that bigger number, they include everything else. Then the key takeaways: billions at risk, blah, blah, blah. Top 3 challenges: financial impact of OT risks were previously undefined. And then it goes on, hard to calculate with the ROI. Okay, so I think just like myself, you are curious now. Well, 330 billion annually, that is quite a high number, or isn't it? And what I would like to do first, in order to understand this number, is to put it into context. And this is what I've done here for you. So I have shown here the annual cost, the actual cost as reported, of adverse events in the United States. And then I've also put in the Dragos numbers for OT cybersecurity incidents, and then the other bar is for cyber physical incidents. Keep in mind that the Dragos numbers are for the global scenario, whereas the other numbers that I showcase here are only for the United States. So this is just in order to give you an idea of the magnitude. Okay, so we have a total loss of around about 340 billion US dollars annually related to car accidents in the United States, just to give you an idea. Hurricane damages, 150 billion annually. Then we have power outages, also 150 billion, and reported cybercrime, 16 billion. This is by the FBI. So you can look up all these numbers. You can fact check me. I just did some brief research on Google to arrive at these numbers, and I think this clearly shows us, well, that's not small change. The problem always is with these numbers, you can't really relate to it when somebody tells you 300 billion, 500 billion. And so it's always a good idea to put it in context. And this is what I try to do here. And if you would, just like me, then conclude, well, that's a really high number, then it certainly is called for to dig deeper how this number comes into being. So just to check the validity, what it actually means. And with these reports, always the best thing to do is check out the methodology chapter if they have it. And to their credit, Dragos and their insurance partners, they do list the methodology on the last page. Let's just quickly jump there. Methodology, there you go. And this is where you can actually make sense out of the numbers, because this will tell you how the numbers are derived. So this is important. For this report, historical data about cyber breaches from 2014 through 2024 were where OT was involved or directly related was examined. Due to relative forensic scarcity in OT reporting, a parallel analysis was also performed to investigate the financial damage from additional incidents in that time frame that indicated the potential for OT impacts. The financial losses measured could involve downtime costs, product loss, recovery loss, and other impact to the business ability to deliver goods and services. Using this information, a model was created and iterated over 10,000 times to establish confident forecasting. And this model is what governs the calculations and estimates contained in this report. So that gives us an idea what we are talking about. So again, let me repeat. The actual numbers, the historical data about OT cyber incidents was so small that they had to factor in estimates for, coming from other incidents, maybe IT incidents, and then speculating what an OT impact could have been. And then they iterate that 10,000 times, and that spits out a theoretical number, what the total damage could be. And I don't know about you, but I, as somebody with a small background in statistics, would wonder, when you iterate something 10,000 times, that often comes with a problem that your error is multiplied, right? So your statistical error, when you do that 10,000 times, the error might be really substantial. So in other words, that doesn't raise my confidence in the numbers. However, let's not throw the baby out with the bathing water. Let's just continue and try to make sense out of that. So I'll go back into the report to the key data points. Okay, so we have been there before. Let's re-examine these numbers again. The following data is based on global estimates. That's good. So they clearly call this out. This is not observed data like with the car accidents, etc. This is an estimate drawn from statistical modeling. So to their credit, they call this out. They are not suggesting you should treat that with a grain of salt because it's hypothetical. For more on how the data is derived, blah, 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 see page 10. We did that already. Oh, no, we're going there. Excuse me. We will be going to page 10. But this is important here. Based on a 1 to 250 tail scenario, this is where how they arrive at these numbers. And I would imagine, especially knowing journalists, that this is something that can be overlooked rather quickly. So what is a 1 to 250 tail scenario, my friends? I can tell you what it is. It's in a little bit simplified version. It is something that you expect about every 250 years to happen. So you incorporate, you factor in a likelihood, and since you are interested in worst case scenarios, right, then you can certainly apply the algorithms to spit out something that is so unlikely that you would expect it to happen only once in 250 years. So this is what we were talking about. And again, to their credit, it is called out, but unfortunately, this information is oftentimes lost, especially for our good folks in journalism, in the media. So let's dive a little bit deeper here. Certainly, we always have to get to the bottom of it in this webcast. And now we're going to how these numbers are derived. Average at risk within BI claim, again, I think it's business impact, I might be wrong. So here is where they explain a little bit more about the process that produced these numbers. The first calculation estimates OT, cybersecurity, financial risk that involve BI, maybe business impact, in a typical year. This is based on historical claims information involving OT, disruption, or extortion. So again, this is an estimate based on all the things that we have discussed earlier. We had so few incidents in the past 10 years that we also need to throw in a couple of other incidents where there could have been some OT damage. And in that estimate, they arrive at 12.7 billion. Well, that number is a little bit different, right? Wouldn't you think? But certainly, if they had just reported, 12.7 billion, they wouldn't have hit the news. Okay, certainly, now it continues. Average financial risk. The second calculation, here in the next stage, is an estimation of the average total financial risk expected from OT cybersecurity incidents over the next year. This is based on incident information regardless of whether a BI claim was filed. So this is about the insurance data that they have. And the first number, they refer to those actual insurance claims. And now they say, no, but I think it's also important to look beyond those insurance claims because there might be more. You never know. And then they come up with this next estimate, which is 31.1 billion as the average globally aggregated OT-related cyber risk over the next 12 months. And now it gets better and better, my friends. now you're getting the meat on the bone here. Tail model scenario risk. The analysis also examined the risk for edge cases. These are scenarios that may involve major supply chain ripples or other extraordinary events. The edge cases increase quickly in the model. Oh yeah, I can see that. The following is based on a 1 to 250 chance tail model. This is what we have seen. This is the first number, 1 to 250. That's the 330 billion. That's this bar right here. And so, I mean, again, to their credit, they clearly call it out. This is for edge cases, right? So this is not what any reasonable person would actually expect. This is only if you're paranoid and think just out of the blue, this meteor might hit us this year or within the next 12 months. And so this is how they arrive at this number, at the 330 billion. And then they have also thrown in some additional calculations. This is, so 183 billion is for a 1 in 100 scenario. So like you would expect that to happen every 100 years. And then they also have something for 1 in 500, and then they arrive at 566 billion US dollars. Good. So let's put this in perspective again. So in this chart here, I have simply copied the data from that previous chart that you see in the report and also added the average total risk based on insurance, which also is an estimate. Don't forget that, right? So we are already estimating here. So we start out with that 12.7 billion annual risk, which, if you remember the data that I presented earlier from the FBI, cybercrime in the US, 16 billion, that's in the ballpark. Okay, next number, estimated average risk regardless of claims, which is the first bar that they have included in the report, 31.1. Then we have the dramatized risk, because now we are looking at edge cases. So this is 183 billion, 1 to 250, the 330 that we have discussed already. And then we end up with 566 billion for the 1 in 500 scenario. You know, at this point, my question really is, why stop at 1 in 500? Why not also include 1 in 1,000? Well, you know, let's just think about the OT cyber risk that could probably happen once every 1,000 years. Why not? I get your point. You say, well, we may no longer have control logics then and Windows. So we probably can ignore that. I get you. I got your point. So, but just to put things in perspective again, if you look at that 1 in 100 risk, just to give you an idea, that is about the probability for very, very serious global pandemic. And so if you look back at the deadliest pandemic that we ever had, that was the Spanish flu in 1918, killing 50 million people. So that is the comparison for 1 in 100, a risk that is so edgy with disastrous consequences that it fortunately happens very rarely. And now if you look at 1 in 250, you are talking about the probability or likelihood of a huge asteroid destroying a whole city. That is 1 in 250. This is what you can look up. I mean, I didn't come up with those events. I researched them just briefly using the AI, and just urge you to do the same. Fire up your ChatGPT, your Grok, etc., and then you will see something like this. If you just inquire about, give me examples of natural disasters for an annual risk of 1 in 250, and then finally 1 in 500 would be like the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, just to give you an idea. And then certainly the question is, why? Why do they rub this number in our face? which is so implausible. A scenario that you expect to happen based on everything you know. And this applies to this case here. So these insurance guys, they knew, well, this is so rare that we expect it only once every 250 years. Why do you do that? And certainly, I think the answer is simple. If they would just have reported the 12.7 billion, nobody would give a shit, right? Industrial cyber would probably not write about it, or they could turn it around and tell you, guys, we have won. You can put your shields down, in the CISA model. No longer need to worry because the risk that we already have calculated with the 12.7 billion, that doesn't actually justify billions of spending for OT security. Certainly, you wouldn't yield that as a consequence or an insight of those numbers. And so that is your rationale here. And so the other takeaway that you can get from here, and I think that is probably the most important piece. So let's just go back to this crazy diagram here. This particular number, this particular scenario, 1 in 225, this is simply chosen deliberately, my friends. So there is no wisdom, there is no data behind that. This is a deliberate choice. And for that reason, the number that you see, well, yeah, it could be, probably if you're paranoid or something. But with the same justification, they could also have used 183 billion US dollars or 566. Why not go all the way? So there is no empirical facts behind this number. This is a projection that was chosen deliberately, not because of any data, right? So that is a decision to make, that you, from all those numbers, you pick that one pretty much in the middle with the 1 to 250 tail risk, with all those edge cases, based on data that is estimated and then thrown into an iteration 10,000 times. This is what these numbers are based on. And what I'm trying to accomplish here is to make you aware of the process, how these numbers come into being, and certainly also what these numbers represent. If you think they represent reality, you would be totally off. They represent one totally improbable scenario. And you can tell me, but I think we still need to worry about that. But that's then your decision. And they decided to rub that in your face, those numbers. And again, this is not really in any way a criticism, because they tell you so. It's just that you have to read the fine print, and not just like all those journalists who just report the dramatic numbers. You don't see any fact checking done, my friends, by the journalists. They just copy and paste the numbers, and the higher the numbers, the better. And that is the trap that I don't want you to fall in. To do your fact checking, to make sure that you understand what these numbers represent. And if you do that, you do due diligence, then you will even say, just like I said, well, no, they're not wrong, because they tell you, oh, you're using all these computations and estimates. So it's not like an evil plot. so it's not fake data. The data has its legitimacy. It's just that most of you would probably arrive at incorrect conclusions to be drawn from this information. And this is what I want to prevent you from. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you in this webcast. And just as a final note, if you are interested in cyber risk, and I know many of you are, I would also want to point you to a video that I did years ago. Excuse me. And you will find it on the OT-based YouTube channel. The title of that video is "Why Your OT Security Costs Too Much: Re-Examining Cyber Risk." And in that video, I give you a couple of pointers based on real data that in that video come from IT, because IT has quite decent numbers. They have enough attacks that they can use that as a good fact base. You don't have those data in OT, because OT attacks are so rare. And I have to tell you once again, I like it. I like it this way, that we don't have a lot of data, that the vendors and their contractors have to also put in so much estimation, etc. Okay, so I think you will be able to gather some interesting background from this video, especially in that chapter. So you see it on here, and you know that from YouTube you have chapter marks, and the chapter called Cost of Consequence would give you some ideas on what to look. For this reason, it makes more sense to look at a different statistical indicator, the median. The median is the value separating the higher half. Okay, so just to give you an idea, you will find some background on how to interpret forecasts and risk, etc. And so let me know what you think in the comments, and otherwise, I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.